Hi, everybody. This topic that we're going to talk about today is always popular with a lot of our listeners and viewers, and it's also one that I absolutely love talking about. And you want to know why? Because if there is one baseline act that has really changed virtually every aspect of my life as I am walking on my healing journey in purpose, it is habits and routines. And I cannot wait to get into this, so let's get started. Welcome to the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom Podcast, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Justin. This is the podcast where we use the philosophy of yoga in a very, very, very practical and everyday way, one small step at a time, to become happier people. And when I say happier people, that's your version of happy. What makes you happy? And boy, we've been talking a lot about the things that make us happy and the things that don't make us happy this season, season 2 of the Strength, Yoga, and Freedom Podcast. The other thing we do on this podcast is we talk about ways that we can drive ourselves into the lane of purpose. Purpose-driven life, that higher consciousness. So if you are someone who is like, I'm tired of living a life where I feel self-doubt all the time, I'm tired of feeling like I have no control over my life, I'm tired of feeling like my life is controlling me or running me, you are in the right place. I am the same. I am just your friend who is walking on this same journey with you, turning my life around, learning these tools through my study of yoga, through my study of research, science, and everything else I can get my hands on, and I'm sharing that with you all. So that's my goal for every one of you, is to also find ways you can turn your life into the direction you want to turn it in. So make sure that in the description of this episode, if you're watching it on YouTube or if you're listening to it on your podcast app, you take a look at some additional resources and tools that you have at your disposal. There are links in there for ways you can also support the podcast and ways that you can save a little bit of money on some amazing other local businesses, or maybe they're not local to you, but they are great businesses to still support with codes and discounts, just to give yourself more tools for your happy life. And I only put links in the episodes that we have here of businesses that I support and that have helped me turn my life around. So make sure you check all of that out. And if you are watching this on YouTube, I highly suggest you subscribe or hit the like button. It's free to do that. And it also helps this podcast and this channel, YouTube channel, get out farther so the message reaches more people. So also share any videos or podcast episodes that you find that speak to you, because it's really, really, really important to share this information with everybody that we possibly can. So a few weeks ago on this podcast, we discussed addictions and how they affect living your daily life with purpose. We talked a lot about certain things that we do and how they could just be things that you do that bring you happiness. And then we talked about what happens if those things that are bringing you these momentary lapses of happiness, what happens if they move into maybe a misuse category, right? And we really honed in on one specific theme in that episode, examining and peeling the layers back in our lives to discover what was or what was not serving us. So make sure you go back and listen to that episode if you've not had a chance. That was a really great conversation that actually will help you springboard into this episode where we talk about habits and routines. And then also last week, I don't know if you're still reeling from the discussion we had last week with Tavi Rose. What a remarkable conversation with the wonderful Tavi Rose, who we discussed so many ways we can use self-development tools that she wrote about in her brand new book called The Chakra and Self-Development Workbook. Again, I am still just flabbergasted by some of the things that she taught us. And so this is another conversation that will arm you with the tools and gifts that she's given us and shared with us that you can bring into your life to help you go down your individual path of purpose. Oh, what a great conversation that was last week. So make sure you check out episodes from these past couple episodes. And of course, all of the episodes are there for you they're behind us, but they're there for you at any time to listen to. So as we're nearing the end of yet another month, because here we are coming up to the end of October now, I want to revisit a topic that we've discussed on this podcast quite a few times before. And we cannot let season 2 go by without bringing this up again and without you and I having a conversation about habits and routines. Because the thing is in order to build the life that you want to live, and that means that you're living a life again with happiness, more happiness, you feel more fulfilled, you feel stronger, right? You know your worth, your value, and you bring that to the relationships that you have with your friends, with your partner, with your family, with your children, with the people at work, all the people around you, and someone who's going to be doing big things with your life and achieving big dreams. That's what you want, right? You have these dreams and goals. And so if you want to do those things, you must build habits and routines with discipline. So this is a conversation that's going to be a little bit tougher to listen to sometimes. I cannot stress this enough, because we really need to get serious about the stuff that we do, especially in the morning and in the evening times of our day. And so if you've not heard me speak on these topics before, you're in for a real treat today. And if you have, that doesn't mean I'm just going to repeat everything that I've said before. I have some new things to share with you, as well as it's important to reinforce what we are already putting in practice in our lives every single day, because this is life changing. I'm telling you this from experience, not just my experience. A lot of you have reached out and told me how much you have experienced changes by doing the things in your life, that the tools that we give you, by implementing them and doing them and executing them. But there's tons of other research out there and other podcasts and other people who talk about things like this and write about things like this who tell you the exact same things. And this is backed by tons and tons of research that's been done as well. So before we go any further, here's the thing we need to do though. We need to let go of all of our excuses right now. I mean, I'm not joking, but like, you need to let go of all of your excuses, because the things that I'm going to say when it comes to the morning routines and the evening routines and the tools and the steps I'm going to give you, your brain and your ego is going to want to resist that, and you're going to have excuses. So when you start to hear those excuses from your ego, because that's where excuses come from, our ego. And remember, our ego is not, a lot of people say your ego is not your friend. I really believe your ego is your friend. Your ego is there to teach you things. And your ego is also really important because your ego protects you from danger. But your ego also is egotistical because it's your ego, and your ego wants to be in control all the time. But there's this higher level of consciousness, and we're going to talk about that as we move into what habits really are. So what we need to do, this higher level of consciousness, we need to tap into that, because you have a lot of excuses. So just right now, start to say, okay, when I hear these excuses, when Justin's talking about A, B, C, D, E, you need to tell your ego, hey, quiet right now, ego. I'm good. I'm safe. Everything's fine. We just need to make some slight changes. So listen, commit right now. No excuses to what I'm going to be telling you. So let's talk about things. This episode, we'll talk about certain things, 3 parts, right? 3 things I want to talk to you about. Number 1, what are habits and what is the science behind habits? Number 2, building a morning routine. And number 3, building an evening routine. In fact, I think we're going to talk about the evening routine before we talk about the morning routine. So that will give us because the mornings actually start, a good morning routine actually starts in the evening, the day before. So that's the order I think we'll go in. We'll go in, what is the science behind habits? What is a great, maybe tools to build a nice evening routine? And then a morning routine right after that. So let's go. Number 1, the science behind habits. So remember when I talked about addictions before? We had this conversation about addictions in previous episode. Plus, I just mentioned a couple things about it at the beginning of this episode. We talked about, specifically in the episode about addictions, we talked about how your brain releases dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical, when you are stimulated into something that gives you pleasure. Dopamine comes. Well, psychologists and researchers tell us that your nervous system is always looking for actions that will give you hits of dopamine. That's part of the human experience. We are always we move towards things that make us feel good, and we move away from things that don't make us feel good. That's basic human. That's our human experience. We all know this. We don't like certain things, so we avoid them, and we like certain things, so we go towards them. Okay, well, that's pretty easy enough to understand. The nervous system is like this. I like to think of it as like a radar, and it's like scanning the area around you. You know how you see on TV, or you're watching your TV weather forecast, and you might see a big circle, and it's got a line that goes around and around, and there's weather coming. It like scans for it, and then all of a sudden, there could be a thunderstorm coming, or we have a hurricane a-brewing, right? Okay, so your nervous system is doing that too. Your nervous system is scanning, always looking all around you in this big circular kind of shape, and what's around you that could cause us happiness or danger. But we're really looking for things that cause us the happiness. And when it sees that, these like alarm bells go off in your head. And you're not thinking when this is happening, by the way. This all happens pretty subconsciously. And these bells go off, ding, 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 ding. And the first thing we go for when we see the radar, right? When something hits that radar is the things that are going to make us feel good, that are going to give us the dopamine hits. And then when we do that and it makes us happy, then we want to do it again and again and again and again because it feels good, right? And that's okay. That's great. It's very natural. That's a natural human thing that we do. However, just because something feels good right now doesn't mean it's going to be good for you for the rest of your life and for your future self. So that's where you have to make determinations on, okay, so if this is feeling good right now, is this going to be something that's going to kind of grow into and grow limbs into something that is going to help me move in the direction of the dreams I've always wanted? And those dreams could be anything in your life that you want. But when those actions you perform do not move you towards those dreams, then we have to start making some changes. So something else we need to understand is that what I just described to you about the discernment between this makes me feel good and it's good for the long run, or it's not good from the long run, this is something that comes from a different part of your brain, that thinking, than just the radar scanning. The conscious decision-making part of your brain is critical. You see, when we practice any form of yoga, it brings us a lot of benefits. And one of the biggest benefits is rising into a higher state of consciousness, which allows you to kind of put that ego talk down that wants you to go towards things that always make you feel happy or safe in the temporary current moment. And it helps you move you towards the goals and the dreams that you have. And that's not easy. This is called the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain where you make conscious decisions from. And this is why certain habits and addictions are very hard to break, because you automatically go to certain habits without even thinking about it. So here's the deal. Habits are formed and then executed, so you just do them without thinking. So what if you start creating habits in your life that allow you to move yourself forward in purpose and in strength? And what if you took what you already know about habits, because you've already created a bunch of habits, you already have habits right now. What if you took that same power and used it to your advantage? What if you did that? Using your own power to your own advantage when it comes to habits, when it comes to moving towards the life you want to live. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So many of us already do okay, I have a habit and I've created this habit because there's an advantage from this habit. It's as simple as putting on a seatbelt, putting on your turn signal in the car, locking your door at night, taking your shower or your bath, bathing daily, turning on the light when you go into a dark room, closing the refrigerator door when you're finished in there. And it's even more complex. Those are simple things, but it can even get more complex, such as complaining, which is a habit, procrastinating, which is a habit, controlling what your partner does, that's a habit, manipulating situations so that you can get a desired outcome, that's a habit, people pleasing, which we talked about early on in the season, is a habit, and negative self-talk. Those are all habits. These are things that a lot of us already do, a lot of us have done in the past, or a lot of us have thought about doing. And so these are things that we do subconsciously, okay? Because we have built the habit wiring in the brain. Now, here is how habits form. This is how they begin to form. There is a cue, there is an action, and then there is a reward. We'll use the seatbelt as the example. You walk to your car, you open the car door, you sit down into the car, and at some point within the first few seconds of what you're doing in there, you put that seatbelt on, and then you start driving or you start the car. Some of you may put your seatbelt on before you start the car. Some of you put it on after you start the car. In fact, thinking about it, I'm not sure when I put my seatbelt on. So the next time I get in my car, I'm going to think about me putting on my seatbelt because I want to know when I do that. But anyway, maybe you should do that too, because it gives you a moment to be present when you get into your car. So the cue there, remember I said cue, action, and reward. So the cue is getting into your car. That's the cue. The action that you know that you need to perform is to put the seatbelt on. And the reward is what? Well, safety in your car, right? In the event that there's a problem, so you know you're safe. Now, here's another example of cue, action, reward. Now, remember, we're building a habit here. Let's say your partner is supposed to be finished with work at 9:00 p.m. And so you start building this habit where you text them at 9:00 to tell you so that they will tell you when they're leaving so that in 15 or 20 minutes or however long it takes them to get home, then here they come, they're home, and you know that they're coming home, and then there they are, they arrive at home. So the cue is, oh, it's 9:00. Your brain knows that Susie is finished with work. And then the action is you get your phone out and you start, okay, are you done? Are you getting ready to come home, babe? Maybe that's what you do. And then the reward is they answer you maybe and say, yeah, I'm on my way home. And then, so you know, oh, they're leaving, ha. And then here they come, ha, they're home. Okay, so that's another habit you may have developed. Once you develop habits, then they start into what's called habit loops. And habit loops have taken that whole process of cue, action, reward, and it evolves into this process: the cue, the craving, the response, the reward. So cueing is when in this habit loop, you are triggered by something that you experience. Okay, it lights up your senses. It could be something you see, it could be something you feel, it could be something you smell, it could be something you touch, you hear, whatever. Then a craving comes. Remember the dopamine? Because you've started this habit, you've done this action before, you've done the cue, the action, the reward. Now you're in this loop. So now, you feel or hear or see something, and then suddenly here comes this craving. I need some dopamine. I need dopamine. And then the response is you engage in a behavior that will give you a satisfaction to the craving. And then the reward is you've satisfied your craving. It's as simple as that. And then what happens in loops, habit loops, is they get stronger and they get stronger and they get stronger over and over and over again. So let's go to another example. You are working and you get stuck. So you're working on something, it doesn't matter. It's schoolwork, a project, you're at your actual job and you're doing something physical or you're writing or whatever it is that you're doing, or you're figuring out something that's very complex and you get frustrated because you've reached some type of a block. Okay, so frustration happens. And so if frustration is something that triggers you, then you decide that you need to go have a cigarette, or maybe you hit your vape. Okay, I used to be this person who wanted that vape anytime I would feel frustrated or stressed. And then you feel that like nicotine relief. Those of you that have smoked or do smoke or know what that, Oh, you know what that feels like. It just feels so like, oh, God, that feels so good. Okay. And you get to that like euphoric feeling for a second. And then suddenly you're like, okay, now I can do it. Now I can go back to work. I'm good. Okay. But the more you do this, the more you create stronger habit loop when it comes to frustration. And so anytime you feel frustrated, no matter whether you're at work or whether you're having an argument or whether you're in traffic and you're trying to get around or trying to get somewhere, you reach for a cigarette. So it's all about the reward here, my friends. That's where this all comes from. That freaking reward. And it's up to you to decide, all right, what type of reward do I really need in my life? You must ask yourself, let's go back to the whole partner coming home from work thing. Do I need to know where my partner is 24 hours a day so I can feel like I'm safe? Which requires nonstop check-ins. You have to ask yourself that. You can ask yourself, do I need to complain about the schedule at work all the time to everyone else except for the person who does the schedule so that I can feel like I belong? You must ask yourself, do I need to gossip about other people so that I can feel like my life isn't that bad? All goes back to that one thing, and it is reward. You're getting a certain reward. So before we move on to specific routines, let's just sum up this whole habit routine, where this all comes from. Number one, habits are things we do without thinking that give us a release of momentary feel-good dopamine, and then we come back to them every time we're triggered. So we create these habits, and then suddenly we're in this habit loop. Number two, habits are hard to break, and they're hard to begin, but you know you can do it, and here's how you know you can do it. You've done it already in virtually every area of your life. Another area where you have lots of habits is your cell phone. You know exactly where Instagram is. You know exactly where Facebook is. You know exactly where your emails are. You know when your smartwatch lights up to boom, check it. Who is that? You know how to create habits. So if you're sitting there thinking, I can't create habits to make my life better, you're lying to yourself. You already have all these habits built. They're there. So you have the brain circuitry. It's a matter of coming into that higher level of consciousness to determine, okay, what do I want to move towards and what do I not want to move towards with regards to what I'm doing with my habits. So when you get serious and you get practical, this is the last thing I'm going to say about all this, and we're going to get into the specifics about the routines. When you get serious and you get practical about simple yet annoying things, some of these things we're going to talk about are annoying. When you get serious about these habits that you're forming from a routine, your entire life is going to change practically and then emotionally. So if you're running into emotional habit loops like the procrastinating, like the need to control where your family is and what they're doing all the time, those types of things, if you have those things going on, when you start to switch practically first, the stuff you do on your own, the day-to-day mundane tasks at times, the emotional stuff starts to change without you even knowing about it. So let's get down to business and talk about evening routines. We said we were going to talk about evening routines first, and then we're going to talk about morning routines. So the first thing to understand about an evening routine is that the morning routine is not going to work really well unless you have a really cool evening routine set up. And the routines always start the night before. There's a lot of things we're going to do the night before that prepare you to have a smooth morning. There is nothing that I could imagine now, thinking about it, that I would want to do. I wouldn't want to do this ever again. Let's just say that. There's no situation that would make me want to do this anymore. I used to be that person where when the alarm went off and I got up, it would be like 10 minutes and then I would kind of like just start to like trudge my way down and trudge my way out the door 10 minutes later and trudge my way to work. If you're doing that, you are not going to have a great chance of turning your life in a positive direction because you need to honor your mornings. They're very, very, very critical. Your brain is at its best in the morning because you're just getting up from a nice restful sleep, hopefully. It's a beginning of a brand new day. You have brand new opportunities ahead of you. Your body is physically ready. If you waste that time by trudging through and the first thing you do is give all your energy to the people at work who don't give a shit about you, you're not honoring yourself. So let's go back and talk about the night before, because this is important to set up where we don't want to do those things that I just mentioned in the morning. Nighttime routines help you to figure out your sleep and how your sleep patterns work and how you can get better sleep as well. They're very important for the routine of actually physically getting into your bed and kind of tucking yourself in and getting yourself cozy. Whether you're alone, whether you're with somebody else, getting that cozy feeling is so important, but there's things we must do to get to that feeling first. So some of these are the things that I talked to you about that will you're going to blow off. You're not going to want to do them. Some of you may try some of them, but what I suggest is you try things one step and one day at a time until you have found the routine that works best for you. So, number one, evening routine tool is figure out when you need to stop eating and when you should begin to fast. Now, I have not talked about fasting on this podcast before, but intermittent fasting is something that I have been practicing myself for a number of years. And I have found that intermittent fasting is one of the really little secret weapons that are out there that help you to reset your body's physical chemistry, your gut, your brain, your cells, everything, your energy, your focus, all of that. So there's a lot of information on intermittent fasting. I am not an intermittent fasting specialist, so I would just make sure you check out any information that's out there about that. There's many ways you can do it, but when you stop eating, you have to determine, when should I stop eating? Some people will tell you to stop 2 hours before you go to bed. Some will tell you 4 hours. For me personally, it usually works with about a 2-hour stop. So I stop about 2 hours before I know that I'm going to go to bed. That includes alcohol, and that includes anything that you're drinking that's not water. So if you drink something at night, you could drink tea as well. What you just don't want to happen is you do not want to see a spike in caffeine or sugars specifically. So when you're just dealing with water or something that's just, if you're doing tea though, be aware that there could be a little caffeine. So you may want to do your decaf or decaf coffee. Those things generally are okay for me. They may not be okay for you though. But really you're keeping the food away and you're keeping away any alcohol or any of that about 2 hours. That's what I do. So you need to determine, when do you need to stop eating and start letting your digestive system take a little break. Number two, you need to decide when you need to stop working. So if you're a person who checks their email late at night, their work email, or in the middle of the night, that is a recipe for disaster. That is something that's going to keep you awake. That is something that's going to keep your mind racing. And it is something that's going to, in the long run, keep you from achieving the optimal amount of fulfillment and happiness in your life, because tying yourself down to the nonstop that like endless cycle of work is not healthy. I don't care what you do for work. None of that is healthy. And we, unfortunately, especially in the United States, we have corporate culture in the United States where people in corporations feel like everybody should be on call 24 freaking hours a day. And that's just bogus. There are a lot of jobs that require you to be on call, but that doesn't mean you have to be sitting there reading your emails all night long. If the phone rings, the phone rings. But you don't have to be engaged to that, because if you're engaged to that work in your evening routine, you're going to have interrupted sleep and you're not going to set yourself up for a great productive day the next day. So you must determine, when do you stop working? I generally stop working anywhere up to about 4 hours before bedtime. 4. No more work. About 4 hours. The third thing to do in the evening is getting your clothes ready for the next day. This is something that I never used to do. And I have found that this is so monumental, because when I get up in the morning, the last thing I want to do is try to figure out what I want to wear. I don't like being awake in the morning. I am I'm not a quote morning person. I don't wake up and jump up and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get the day started. I hate waking up. I love my bed. I love being comfortable, snuggling with my kitties and being comfy and warm and all that. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to get up. So when I get up, do I want to kind of go into my other room and start thinking, oh God, what am I going to wear? Oh, that's right. I'm going to yoga this morning. I got to get my shorts out. Where are my shorts? Are they in this pile? Are they in that pile? Okay. Make things easier for yourselves. I'm not saying you have to fold all your laundry and have it in the nicest stacks. I don't do that, but I know where my clothes are. So it's important for me the night before to get the shirt ready, to get the shorts ready, to get the headband ready if it's going to be yoga towels, whatever. If you're going to the gym in the morning, maybe you prepare your bag, your gym bag. Or if you're going to work and then you exercise later, maybe you get your work clothes out or hung up or whatever the night before, so that you are not struggling in the morning. Because when we talk about morning in a minute, it's very, very critical that you're not wasting brain energy on the clothing selection in the morning. It is such a hassle. So get your clothes ready, lay them out right there, put them somewhere where you have to go. Maybe that's the bathroom. Maybe that's next to your bed. Maybe it's downstairs and, before you go out the door, they're there. And I don't know, wherever you get dressed, get your stuff ready. Get your bag ready. Get your clothes ready. And let's talk about the electronics next. Now, this one, a lot of people hate hearing and a lot of people don't do this. And it took me a while to actually start to do this. And I heard many people speak on this. And finally, I took the plunge. And now I don't regret it one bit taking the plunge on this. Your phone should not be near where you sleep. Period. Okay, did the excuses start? Yeah, but I'm on call for work. Yeah, but I have kids that might need me. Yeah, but what if there's an emergency? Yeah, I have aging parents. I know, I get it. So here's the solution. Put the phone where you can't reach it. It can't be where you sleep that you can reach it easily. And the reason you don't want to be able to reach your phone is because you're going to reach for your phone. Remember the habits you've already created by knowing when your partner gets off work at 9 o'clock and you're like, oh, I can go get my phone because, Susie Q's getting off. Okay. Have it so where the phone will ring if you have an emergency. If your parents need you, if your kids need you, if your sister and brother need you, if your partner needs you, if your work is calling, tell them, call me. And if you have a smartwatch, have your smartwatch on at night and have it set, because you can set all this stuff. Set it to where it will interrupt you in the event of an emergency. There is a ton of stuff you can do to set yourself up. So the excuse about, well, I have to have my phone or I have to have it right there, because no one's saying that you shouldn't answer your phone in the event of an emergency, but have it somewhere else where you can't reach it so that you don't interrupt your sleep and so that you're not looking at it before you go to sleep. How many of you have ever had your phone in your bed and then you're looking at it and suddenly you look at the clock and it's 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning and you have to be up at 6 o'clock? I've done it. I'm sure you have too. The phone should be somewhere else. Plug it in on the other side of your bedroom. Plug it in the next room. I actually keep my phone in this room and my bedroom is the next room over. So if the phone rings, there's going to be an alert on my watch that's going to buzz, 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 and I will have to get up and come in here and answer the phone. It's an extra 2 seconds, but I can answer the phone. I am not going to hear text messages. I'm not going to hear any notifications. There's an emergency, you better freaking pick up the phone and call, which most of the time when there is an emergency, a phone call happens anyway, or when your job needs you anyway. So decide, where are you going to put your phone and when should you stop using your phone the night before? When I get ready to go to bed, it's around this like 1 to 2 hour mark where the phone is nowhere near me anymore. So I am ready to go to sleep. So there's no more phone. And we talked already about getting bags ready, but it's important to get your water ready for the next day. If you have trouble, if you like to drink water and you have really hard time like fumbling through the refrigerator in the morning to get your water out or get your bottles of water, just set it somewhere where it's convenient. You know, the first place I go after I go to the bathroom is the coffee maker. And so if there's something I need to remember, I put it by the coffee maker the day before, because then it's there for me. I know I'm going to go to the coffee maker. I've already built that habit. So go to the coffee maker. Put things there. Put things by the door if you need to leave. Like I said before about clothes, like if you have a bag that you're going to have to change clothes into, or for your kids if they play sports, or you have lunches you're packing for them, or for yourself, or things you have to bring with you because you're leaving to go to do something for the day. Have all of that ready the night before by the door. You do not want to do that stuff in the morning. If you're doing that in the morning, you're going to take away precious time from the things I'm going to talk to you about here in just a second when it comes to the morning routine. And your brain should be using your brain in the morning for things that fulfill you, not for those tasks like that, like the water and the clothes and, you know, having your spaces clean. And that's another thing. The spaces in your house really should, any space you need to be clean, make sure it's clean the night before. Your car, same thing. If you get into a dirty car, I want you to take a look at what your life is like if your car is always dirty. And I don't mean necessarily the outside of your car. What kind of junk are you storing inside of your car? A clean space, a clean car, a clean house leads to a clean life. Therefore, if you have things all over your kitchen, all over your family room, all over the walkway to the door, all over the bathroom, and you have to fumble and scramble around in the morning, you are going to meet a lot of resistance when there's already enough resistance to even fucking get up, right? So it's very important. It's very important to take an extra 5-10 minutes and just clear your spaces so that you're ready to go for the morning. So have all that stuff ready. And finally, when you set your alarm with the intention that you are going to give yourself time in the morning to be with yourself. Let me say that again. To be with yourself. I'm going to say that a third time. To be with yourself in the morning. There is nobody else in the morning that you need to be with first thing, but for yourself every day. So when you set the alarm, determine, okay, I need a half hour, 45 minutes, 90 minutes by yourself. Oh, but my kids have to get up. Oh, but my partner gets up before me and wakes me up. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I do not care. I don't care. Get up before your partner gets up. If your partner gets up before you, let them get up, and then you get up after and go into a room where there's quiet, or go outside where there's quiet. But set the alarm so that you give yourself an adequate amount of time in the morning to gather yourself up, because you have to spend the day with yourself. Do you not? You're not having out-of-body experiences all day where you're not in an out-of-body experience. You are having a human experience. That means you need to be with yourself in the morning. So set your alarm for more than 10 minutes before, because you know the lie you tell yourself. Oh yeah, I'll be able to get everything done in the first 5 minutes and then I'm walking out the door. Do you know how many times that I have gone to a job, and to this day still in the mornings, where I see people trudging in the morning? Oh, I just got up. You just got up and you want to interact with me? I don't want to interact with you if you've just gotten up. I don't want anything to do with you when you've just gotten up, because you don't know what's going on yet if you've just gotten up. So set that alarm so that you are ready to go and you have time to get up. So those are all the evening things. Now let's talk about, and you have to take those and you have to kind of make a structure that fits your life. It may not be, I like to get up. If I have to start something at 9 o'clock, let's say 9 o'clock in the morning, then I like to get up at least 75 minutes to 90 minutes before, because I need that amount of time for myself before I have to interact with everybody. You are interacting, and we're going to talk about this at the very end. You're interacting with people and fighting battles all freaking day long. You deserve to give yourself a lousy half hour, 45 minutes, a stinking hour in the morning where you're not with your kids and not with your partner or not with your family. And I'm not saying those are bad. That's bad to be with those. That's not it. But you're going to be your best self with them for the other 16 hours of your day if you give yourself a little bit of time in the morning to give to yourself. So set that alarm with intention. Now, morning routines. First thing, you've heard me talk about this. You may have heard other people talk about this who do podcasting and writing and other self-help stuff, is the alarm. You should never, ever, ever hit the snooze button. And when the alarm goes off, it doesn't mean you lay in bed. It doesn't mean you grab your phone. And you shouldn't have your phone near you anyway to grab because it shouldn't be in reach. So when the alarm goes off, you need to get up. Now, if you're a person that uses your phone for an alarm, and your phone is on the other side of the room or in another room, you have to get up to shut that alarm off. I use my watch as an alarm. And so when the alarm goes off, I get up immediately. The feet go on the floor and I get up immediately. This is something that was so hard for me to do for a very, very long time, was getting up when the alarm went off. I used to lay there and I would grab my phone, and the first thing I would do is start penetrating my brain with shit on social media and work emails. Again, why am I giving my attention to everybody else when I don't even know what the hell I'm thinking first thing in the morning? So when the alarm goes off, you need to get right up out of bed. There is to be no phone yet. Absolutely no phone. And no interacting with other people. Maybe if you're living with other people, you may say hello, but go to a place where there's quiet. And I don't care if don't say, well, I don't have anywhere in my house that I could go that there's quiet. Yes, there is. It's just an excuse. Make a space. You have the control. So that's number one. Always get up when the alarm rings. And that means no setting 7 alarms. Okay? I just heard someone say this the other day. I set 7 alarms and I slept through all 7 of them. Well, the reason you slept through all 7 of the alarms is, number one, you had nothing ready from the night before. Because if you did, you would have had a good night's sleep, and you shouldn't sleep through something that's loud enough like an alarm. And number two, the reason you slept through an alarm is because you have not built the habit of when that alarm rings and you hear it, just like you want to hear the phone ring if there's an emergency. All of you want to hear the phone ring. Well, you're going to hear the freaking alarm ring too. So get up. Get up. You don't want to have a delayed reaction and getting up and having this whole just go right back to sleep and then drift off into some other sleep cycles. And then you're in this brain fog for the first part of your day. How are you going to be productive like that? We don't want that. Get up right out of bed. Making your bed is important in the morning too. It doesn't matter in what order you do that in when it comes to your morning routine, but making your bed is really critical because it's the first place that you'll notice there's an accomplishment. You've already done something. Although I think getting up with the alarm is a big accomplishment, but once you start doing that on a routine, right, and you stop setting 7 alarms, that's going to be a huge accomplishment too. But it may, the feeling of that may start to feel like, okay, this is just something I know I have to do to propel myself forward. But when you make your bed, you're intentionally moving and doing something, and you're creating a space for yourself to come back to in the evening that's so nice. And it doesn't mean you have to make it beautiful and put all these gorgeous things. If you want to do that, that's great. But for me, I just pull everything up, make it flat, pile the pillows up, and that's it. And the bed is made. And at night, it feels so nice to come into a beautiful space for myself. It's like the morning Justin took care of the nighttime Justin. And you should always be taking care of your future self. So making your bed has a lot of different benefits. Another morning routine tool is journaling. A lot of us journal. I love my journaling time. I use it sometimes to kind of dump all my shit out that's in my brain when I wake up. You might wake up and feel like something's wrong. You might wake up feeling a lot of anxiety. You may have had a lot of things happen the day before. Maybe you didn't get everything ready the night before that you wanted to. And when you get up, you feel very discombobulated. Journaling is a great place to start to assess your mood, to figure out where you are in your mind and what you're thinking about, and how you can kind of journal through some icky crap so that you can go be that best version of yourself for the next 16 to 18 hours with your family and your partner and everybody else. Another great step is making sure you're in some form of nature. And I don't mean that you just open the blinds and then you walk away. Like, you look in nature for a moment. I mean, like, open the blind and then, like, look at, especially when you're in colder months and you can't go outside, if you're somewhere that has cold weather in the winter months, look outside and, like, literally just look at some trees, stare at them for just a minute or two and enjoy the beauty of a tree or the grass. Or even when it's cloudy, look at the clouds, or look at if there's snow on the ground, or if it's raining, or if there's lightning. Look at nature. Now, if you can, I also suggest walking into nature, because that helps your circadian rhythm stay in play. And circadian rhythm is that natural rhythm of your body that knows it's morning and it's night. So we wake up, we go to sleep, right? So just opening the blinds and then going to talk to your friends, that's not looking at nature. Or opening the blind and then asking your partner what they're doing. That's not spending time in nature. Look in nature or go into it. And another great morning routine is an intentional practice like gratitude practice. Meditation is great in the morning. Maybe doing breathing exercises in the morning to get when you breathe in certain ways and in certain amounts of breath, in certain ways you take inhales and exhales and waiting on inhales and exhales, that changes the way your blood flows, the way your heart beats, the way your digestive system works, and it switches on your non-alarm nervous system. It taps into the parasympathetic nervous system, the calm one. So breathing exercises are great. Having positive affirmations, you can speak them into a mirror, you can write them in your journal, you can say them to yourself while you're drinking your coffee or you're standing outside. Gosh, I'm so grateful that we're here today. Or, boy, yesterday sucked, but I'm going to tell you what, it's a brand new day today. And those things aren't always easy to say in the morning because you're cranky and you want to go back to bed. I know this. I am that person. I have trouble with positive affirmations in the morning, but I just try to say one thing, like, you know what? You're just not going to focus on anger today. That's it. You're not. You're going to move forward. That's it. And that's all you have to do. And so these types of things to say to yourself or get intentional about, like meditating or practicing gratitude or whatever it is, breathing, those are super critical. Moving your body is important in the morning. And again, you could use nature for that. If that means that you walk up and down the stairs 2 times just to get your body, like the blood moving, then that's what you do. If that means you just do a walk up and down your driveway, or you take your dogs out for a quick morning walk, that not only gives you the movement in the body, but it also gives you a little bit of exercise in the morning. And I'm not saying you have to exercise in your morning routine. Some of us don't have time to do that. Some of us like to exercise in the morning. Some of us like to exercise in the evening. I don't particularly believe that you should exercise at a particular time of day. I think it should be when it works for you. But I do believe that it's just a little bit of movement really impacts your morning. And I think it's super critical to put some type of movement, even if it's just a few minutes, 2-3 minutes, just a little gentle movement. Maybe you do a few crunches, or maybe you just sit there lay on your back and lift up your legs into what we call in yoga a waterfall pose, and then lower your legs down and lift them back up. Just move yourself around just a little bit in the morning. And finally, think about, or write this in your journal, what is one thing you can do today that's going to move you forward towards your dreams? 1, not 17, 1. So maybe today, this was mine for today. I'll share it to you. They changed how we pay our water bill where I live. So it was one online system, now it's another. And when they changed the bill paying system, of course, with technology, nothing ever runs smoothly. So when they changed it, the way we have to get on there now and we have to pay our water bill wasn't working for me. So I said this morning to myself, okay, today you are going to call the water department. That's the one thing I knew I was going to do to move myself forward, because if I don't call the water department, I'm going to put it off. I'm going to put it off. I'm going to put it off. And then suddenly the water bill is not going to get paid, right? And that's not something I want to do. Not paying bills when it comes to my purpose, moving forward as a healthy adult, that kind of stuff. So it could be, all right, I'm just going to get the clothes out of the dryer today. That's the one thing I'm going to do to move myself towards purpose. Great. So those are some really great key tips to great morning routines. Use them any way you need to. So to say this, and I know this has been a little bit of a longer episode than what we've had, but this is really important stuff here, folks. And I want to say this to kind of sum things up. These are things that I did not make up myself, these morning routine things. I have learned all of these steps from a lot of wonderful people who have their own podcasts, who write their own books, who do their own research, and I have done my own research, trial and error, and my own learning experiences. This is a big amalgamation of things, and I've made it work for me. You can make it work for you depending on what portions of that routine are going to give you the most beneficial outcome. And so when we're looking at routines, take knowledge from as many places as you can and build it for what works for you best. And I want to just say one more thing about exercise too. Exercising is critical for a healthy lifestyle. If you want to move into the direction of fulfillment and purpose and living the life of your dreams, just stretching or maybe doing very light movement. And I'm talking to those of you who are physically able to do this. I'm not talking to those of you who have physical limitations that you cannot do exercise like people who don't have physical limitations. I'm talking to those of us who have no physical limitations when it comes to moving our bodies. And we all have aches and pains and things we have to watch, but we're talking about exercise. We're not talking about, all right, I'm going to just do some stretches. Let me stretch my shoulders. Let me stretch my legs out. Okay, I exercised. That's not exercise. Exercising is getting your heart rate up to a pattern where it's going to burn calories. That means walking like you're late. That means running. That means going to the gym and doing training or stair climber or elliptical work. I use yoga as my form of physical exercise. Some of you do spinning, you do Pilates, you do bar classes, you do kickboxing. Get your heart rate up. But sitting in the house saying that you're stretching is not exercise at all. So get that excuse out. You want to be a happier person? You're going to implement exercise somewhere in your life every day. It could be in the morning, it could be in the evening, but I wanted to talk about exercise and what it is not and what it is, right? And I'm not saying that if you do a little bit of movement one day, it's bad. It's not bad. But if you want effects, if you want results, you need to get your heart rate up on a regular or semi-regular basis. Why is this all important? Why are routines important? Why is this important? Why should we be focusing on habits? Why? Well, when you battle anxiety, you battle depression, you battle self-doubt, you have negative self-talk, then you spend more time worrying, complaining, making excuses, and you want to turn your life around away from all that stuff, but it has to begin with the beginning of your day and the end of the day, because during the day, those waking hours, you are battling things all day. You're battling technology. You're battling things at work. You're battling, maybe if you're working with customers, you're battling your family, your children, your parents, your partners. You're in a constant battle state. So you owe it to yourself to have a wonderful morning routine and a wonderful evening routine so that you are prepared and ready to battle the day. Of course, there are going to be things that are going to come up in your day that you are not ready for, that are going to be traumatic, that are going to be upsetting, that are going to be disappointing, that are going to throw you off. But you are going to be far better off in the bounce back if you start to practice these simple but annoying or irritating things like waking up with the alarm. And when you start waking up with that alarm and you hear the noise and you just get up, you are going to start taking that into other areas of your life. Like when your boss says something that's inappropriate to you and the alarm goes off in your head, you're going to say, you know, boss, thank you for saying that. However, I just do not appreciate being spoken to like that. And so in the future, I do not want to be spoken to that anymore. And that's just a weak form of setting a boundary, but it's something that you're going to be able to make those, you're going to tap into that prefrontal cortex, that decision maker, and stop working on subconsciously, where when people say shitty things, you're just going to go, oh, okay. Right? right. So until we meet again, take a look over all the things I talked about today. There were a lot. And build some habits and routines for yourself that work for you because you deserve it. I can hear my cats fighting outside, so I'm going to go attend to them and see what they're doing. And in the meantime, I want to send you all a lot of love and a lot of happiness and a lot of strength and freedom because you deserve it. I'll see you all soon.